Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining the event today, the live session. We're almost ready to start. We're gonna give it a couple minutes just so we get people signing up. But we're pretty much ready to go. So let's just give it a couple minutes. Okay, there you go. I think we can probably get the session kicked off. Well, thank you for everybody that has signed up. We had quite a lot of people signing up for the live session today, and the purpose of this live session is to share some of the knowledge and insights that we've acquired through delivering some of the projects. In this case, this week we have a special guest, Fernando from Arconvert, who is a really interesting project in the context of their journey of digital transformation. So Fernando is going to share with us what's happened through the project and the learnings from it. Before we start, there is a way to send questions. Please feel free to in the application to send your questions to see if we have enough time at the end to review these and have a little bit of a conversation around them. The format of the presentation is more of a talk between Fernando and myself. We hope not to bore you to death. It's not a typical webinar. It's more of a just a chat. We aim to deliver it in 45 minutes, so it might be 45, maybe 50 minutes, under an hour. And obviously, after the webinar, feel free to get in touch with us to see if we can help you in any way or form. Okay. Like I said, today there's two of us having this session. I'm Hideki. I'm the CMO for redk. I'm one of the founders of the business, and I'm leading the marketing practice of the business, but actually the head consultant for the customer experience and CRM part of the services. Fernando is visiting today. He's based in Barcelona, but maybe Fernando, you can tell us a little bit more about yourself and your professional trajectory.
Thanks, Hideki, and hello, everyone. I'm the marketing director for Arconvert and Ritrama. It's a recent acquisition in the Fedrigoni Group. We belong Fedrigoni Group. I've been the marketing director for 2 years. Previously, I've been in IT actually and in marketing. I have a computer science degree and also an MBA. In my previous experience, I've been also working for a company in the same sector, as I was saying, in IT and also as a marketing, and have the experience to have implemented CRMs and different transformations in my career, especially in America and US, for example, with different platforms.
So you've already gone through a similar process in the past businesses that you've worked with.
Yeah, that's correct. That really gives you a view, and then when you do it again, you always put things in your back that actually you can use in the future in different businesses. There are things that they are standard, that they are things that you can apply to different businesses, regardless in which industry they are. And so there are some other ones, some business processes that they are very related to the industry where you are. But honestly speaking, 80% or 90% is really something standard that you can apply to many different industries.
And your profile is particular because you come from academically from doing IT, but you're now working on the business side in marketing, right? So I think that gives you like a very interesting, more ample view of you know, the transformation process, right? And
having the computer science degree and then after the MBA, it really gives you the ability to truly understand what is required, also knowing what it can be done. Nevertheless, you always need that support externally of a firm that can give you what else is happening right now, what new technologies are available, and what else we could be doing in a different way. So even though you have kind of the foundation, both IT and then in marketing, in my case, it's always good to have someone else to help you, to guide you to succeed in what you want to get to the project.
Thank you for sharing. So just in the context of what Arconvert was doing, we started working together because they were looking at running this process of digital transformation and getting the company to be more mature in a digital sense, optimizing processes and making it customer-centric. So customer centricity is being a big part of why Arconvert decided to embark in this project, right? In this redk, a little bit about us, this is what we do. We help companies improve this process, and the process of moving from old technology to new technology and transforming the business. We call that CRM transformation. For that, we use, among other things, technology, right? But what's the story around Fedrigoni and Arconvert? Can you tell us a little bit the context of the business?
Yeah, Fedrigoni was a family business, paper-based. I mean, mainly doing specialty papers in the packaging industry. It was acquired 2 years ago by a private equity, Bain Capital. And in this group, in this Fedrigoni Group, there is Arconvert, which is the pressure-sensitive labels business unit. So we actually make the labels, the sandwich with face, specialty paper, or films as well, the adhesive, and then the liner that we actually sell to our customers, who actually they are the ones who print truly the labels and who are selling the materials to the final brands.
Yes.
Like if we talk about a winery, they are the ones who are applying the final labels into the wine bottles. But we are the ones who create kind of the materials that would go in the end through our printers to the bottles.
Yeah.
So in this sense, you can see here the two different audiences, or the main two primary targets that we interact with. So we have our customer base, which mainly are printers who print our materials. They are the ones that we interact more transactionally, but we need to understand really that they have their own customers. So they have the customers of our customers, who are on the right side, this secondary target, which are the final brands, which might have actually different needs that we need to understand as well. Because in order to really help our customers to grow, we also need to understand what is the value that they provide, and then we together we can provide to the final brands, who again are the customers.
So it's not just the process of selling. You have to understand how your customer's customer plans to use your product, right?
Yeah, you almost have like two almost value propositions. You have the value proposition of your product that you give to your customer who actually prints, but then there is the other value proposition, the final value proposition, which is the use and the value of a label into the package that goes to the final brand, like wineries or home personal care like Johnson & Johnson, P&G, anything that consumers today, and we are living it even more actively recently because of the COVID, becoming a larger consumer of product. We can see that there is labels everywhere.
Yeah. So and this is all happening in the context of the business being acquired by Bain Capital, right? So is when businesses get bought, there's usually a demand for really rapid growth and consolidation of all of the brands that they put together. So that's probably a big element of of this project.
Yes, being a private equity, there is always the factor of the M&As. We just experienced this ourselves in the last 5 months, acquiring Ritrama. So now the challenge is, how do you actually put in place a common platform that you could actually see and have the customer in the center, but not as a silo between different companies, but truly the value that we give as a group, regardless of the different acquisitions. Everything, all the qualities and value of the departments, how all they work together, having in mind that we have one target, which is the customer.
Yeah, that's quite interesting. And we see a lot of companies that are getting through that process and are pushed to perform better. It's interesting also doing a little bit of research in your industry. It seems like it's an industry that is growing quite steadily for the last 5 or 6 years, and at a rate of almost 5% per year. Which if you want to be part of that growth, and here we're talking about billions, but in the business, this probably creates a lot of pressure for the business also to be performing, right? In the context of that growth, obviously there is an opportunity, right, for companies like yours. But I think the main driver, we were talking about this ourselves before when we were preparing this, the main driver is this context of trying to adapt of the expectations of customers, right? Customers are living this, we live on a day-to-day, we experience technology in a very different way when we consume as in a B2C model. But the B2B buyer is actually expecting those same types of technologies, right? So
yeah, because in the I remember 20 years ago, Hideki, that I remember myself whenever I needed something technologically, I always was thinking that the company that I was working for usually was more advanced technologically. Like if I needed to print something, if I needed to make a call or use a computer, always in the company, the interaction B2B, it was more advanced than the experience that I was having as a consumer with technology. But nowadays, all this has been completely reversed. Like for example, with Amazon and all the technologies, the consumers are starting to have an improved and enhanced experience themselves as a consumer than themselves being part of the B2B experience.
Yeah.
So the purchasers, when they are actually buying from us and we are the suppliers, they actually have a better experience when they buy things for themselves as a consumer, as a B2C, than when they actually interact with the supplier.
Yeah.
So this is something that has been really changed in the last 10 years. And now the B2B has been challenged by this reality, and the B2B needs to catch up. And of course, there's an expectation generated that we need to fulfill in the B2B business and make it a competitive advantage.
Yeah, definitely. I think we want to work the way we live our normal lives, right? And technology is out there, and as B2B buyers, we often think, how is it that we can do that? So, what are the core? We were talking about the core pillars of what you want to achieve through this CRM strategy, right? Can you talk us through a little bit through these points?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, you need to understand your business processes, your sales cycle. You need to understand how your industry works, how your customer actually works themselves as well. What are the processes that your customer they follow for their customers? Because it needs to be aligned at some place to really identify opportunities and how you can bring value to your customers. So that's very critical and important. Also, you need to be aware of what we were saying of the B2C, how to actually bring things that are happening in the B2C, how to bring them into B2B to really have this additional edge technology-wise. And the technology in the end is just giving you that additional service or that additional value that you can give to the customers. Right now, there is a lot that is driven by technology, but the technology supports processes that you put in place also internally. So once you have identified all these opportunities and everything that you want to really provide to your customers, then build the internal processes in our own company, and then build the technology around to really be able to enable and implement this strategy to your customer.
So a lot of it has to do with really understanding the journey of that the customer goes with your brand, like what are the points of interaction, etc., to be able to create that extra layer of added value, right? Because the product itself contains a lot of value, because in your case, for example, you produce a high quality product that is known for its quality. But in order to be competitive, you have to go beyond the products, things like customer service, speed, access to information. All of these things are quite important, right? When you understand the way the customer operates, you can design your processes to service that, right? So yeah, that's definitely.
There are many touch points. There are many touch points with the customers. It starts with the first single touch point when you meet them in a trade show, or when they meet you in a digital form through social media or the website, that they become a lead. At that time, you're starting to know the customer. But there is a process. It's like a relationship. That's how you get to meet the customer, and all the different touch points that happen in the journey. It's super valuable to build the knowledge in that customer. Every customer is different. They value different things. They have different needs. So building that profile of the customer is super critical to know what they need and to meet those expectations and requirements.
Because I think this was definitely a challenge when you started looking into this, because you you had several businesses located in different territories, different cultures, different ways to work. Everybody probably, from what I understand, some things were disconnected, the sales process from the marketing process, and within the sales process itself, there were a lot of silos of information, some of it on Excel sheets, some of it on paper, some of it in the minds of the salespeople, and you only record the final product of the sales process, which is the sales order, right? But before that, there's so much information that is required to optimize the business, right? So being in an environment where you're growing fast and you're growing by acquisition and you're growing organically, I think it's normal to have these challenges, no, of having a disconnected environment.
Yeah, I mean, the different challenges that we had, every company is in a different phase. Nowadays, you can find companies that maybe they're more advanced than others technologically, and how integrated they are and advanced between the commercial team, marketing, and not only between sales and marketing. There is also a lot of communication and information that flows with operations, with supply chain, all the logistics. There is many information that you could think that is not relevant or difficult to capture. It's super critical when you are thinking how to add value to the customer. So the challenge that we found is that it was missing first this information. It was not digitalized. It was not in any database or any system. The systems were not really talking to each other. We even had different ERPs, and this is something expected, especially in an M&A situation. So therefore, there was a huge need to have this additional layer on top, where you could actually collect all the information from the customer, from the different departments, and create this platform of communication and work together as a team, the commercial team with the rest of the organization.
Yeah, so those are the objectives of the project, right? I think in your case, I think there were two elements that probably contributed heavily to the success of the project. You had enough support from the executive team to consider this a critical project, and you had already done this somewhere else, right? So you had the experience, you understood the challenges of doing these things, and then you were able to set these objectives, right? So we were looking at, you understand the challenges, you know how to set really specific business outcomes. So when you're delivering the project, you can point towards those goals, right? Can you talk us through maybe some of these points that we raised?
Yeah, I mean, in order to implement and start a project so ambitious to implement from scratch, from zero, a new CRM in the whole company, is not really implementing just a platform. It's really a platform that will have as an outcome many values internally that will help us to truly give a better response or better value to our customers. And this needs to be explained very well to the executive team. Being part of the executive team myself also helps to get that support right away, and also the experience of having done this before. Once you have done this before, you can give examples and provide this value. So for us, to be able to have this visibility of what's in the pipeline, it's super critical, especially in our industry. It's so linked to the consumer, to the consumption, and the life cycle, and the cycle of our sales process, which could actually go from few months to more than a year. It's very important to have internally this pipeline visibility, this forecast, in order to prioritize as well ourselves and to plan internally accordingly and strategically. All this you require to have some level of automation. There are companies and there are cases where you might have few number of customers, maybe a few hundreds. But in a case like us that you get to the thousands levels, it's something unmanageable without automation. So you really require a robust platform system with the automation enough to be able to manage and give the tools to a large number of commercial and sales people to be able to be on the field and have that information on their hands right away when they are preparing the meeting, maybe in the parking lot just before they actually visit the customer. So they need to have the information accessed right away.
Yeah, we see that in a lot of sales teams. A lot of the systems they had before were not thinking of the context in which the person was using the application, right? So, you know, the systems are designed for being at the office 100% of the time and being in that context. But salespeople are usually on the road, or they should be. That's what their bosses say. You know, you got to be on the road. And what that means is that very often you're offline. You need to have information for the customer consolidated in one single point. You need to be able to check buying history, pricing, existing projects, etc. Right? So if that effort, if consolidating that information takes a lot of effort because you got to query different systems, or you got to call people or look at documents, there's a massive loss of efficiency, right? So I believe that was one of the core focuses of this project, to digitalize the full sales cycle from, you know, the creation of the lead all the way to the quotation and the signing of the project, the handing over of the project to production, right?
Yeah, because in the end you are providing a tool and different services to enable our commercial people, to give them really the systems and what I was saying, the tools to help to improve their day-to-day job. And if you create something that it's a monster, that it's not really helping your commercial team to achieve and provide that information back to the customer, or any changes that could happen at any time and give that communication properly right away to your commercial team, you are really missing the link and you are not helping your face to the customer, which is super critical.
So there is the need to, you know, align the tactical plan, the tactical activity of the sales teams with the strategic thinking of the business, right? The strategies. So to provide employees with the right tools to deliver their functions. So there is a process of standardization, especially if you've had several businesses in several regions working in different ways. That standardization helps you gather the data to then analyze it and optimize it, right? You can analyze data that doesn't exist somewhere, or that is not comparable one to the other, right? So during the implementation, part of the process that we have to often go through is rethink the processes and what is the standard that we can implement that can gather the KPIs that you need to make those decisions, right? We were looking at the high level, at a more tactical execution for the project. So although we're going to go through these points now, at a high level, it was, you know, you bought several businesses, they all had different ERPs for production, which meant they were in different locations logistically. Pricing could be different for each case, right? So that was an element. And understanding that the customer, we needed to create a unique view of the customer, to consolidate an account code, to be able to identify an account and create all of the data around that account. Centralize the data to be able to automate the processes. There was a lot of focus on improving the sales cycle, the pricing tool for configuring and quoting, logistic optimization, and having, you know, the collaboration tools like Outlook 365 that you use currently, and then generate the data from there, right? And last but not least, start implementing marketing automation to leverage on that data. So if we look at it from a different perspective, I created this diagram where we see that the core of the processes is built around the sales cycle and the quoting to make sure that we can streamline the quoting process from beginning to end, taking into consideration the cost of logistics, the closest point of production, the product catalog, the pricing, because prices vary from country to country, from product to product, from distribution center, etc. And there is a component of process automation based on business process management to make sure that this gets delivered, right? So when we look at your strategic business plan and how the company had acquired the different businesses and look at how you wanted to grow, that translated into very specific tactical tools, right? And at the very top, we have a marketing automation, in this case supported both by the Sugar CRM products. To the marketing automation piece will leverage on all of the data that is being collected to then do better customer marketing, right? So it's quite a complete project, because if you look towards the bottom of the graphic, there's also the need to integrate your backend systems to have the information in the front-end systems, right? So maybe you can talk us through a little bit about these components that you help redesign, and in terms of process and the challenges. What is this about this consolidated account code?
And the accounts is one element, because there is the accounts and then there is the products. I mean, in this situation, you need to create a catalog of products and one database of customers. And you're coming from an environment that you have different companies, and in the end you have one same customer. It's super critical it was super critical in the CRM implementation that all the data was clean and it was standardized, and we had one only customer, not duplication of customers. That's just an example, or duplication of products. The CRM, the development of the CRM actually took less time than the amount of time that we had to internally clean all the data and had everything well in place. Create kind of like the identity of a customer, of an account, what data was required to have, and standardize it among the organization. And the same with the products. In the end, the outcome is that you have a clean list of customers and a database of customers with a unique identifier, and the same with the products. In another maybe company, or maybe in the past, the process to do this, it would be to unify all the ERPs and merge or all in one single ERP. But nowadays, we know that that process can take years, and there are many risks to change an ERP. And nowadays, with the new technologies, it really is a better idea, and you can achieve this much quicker by having a layer on top of the different ERPs with a single common CRM, and then the interaction and the interfaces, they are so fast that they can handle so much data today between the ERPs that it doesn't really need to have one single ERP. You can actually achieve this by having this common layer with the CRM. Yeah. So the whole process internally of cleaning the data and defining the data and really building what it means for you to have a customer, and what information the commercial team needs to see from the customer perspective, also from the product perspective, was super critical. You can achieve the best CRM with the best platform, the best automation, but if the data is not correct, duplication is going to be not successful at all, the project.
Yeah. So we see this challenge very regularly. Very often the data consolidation or the data quality project is running in parallel with the CRM project, and it takes us long because there's several elements about data, right? The data duplication, data validation, the validation in terms of quantity, the number of records, but in terms of quality. Yeah. And that is something that cannot be done systematically, right? The team that works with the data need to help in validating which data is correct, which data can be thrown out. And then we need to map it. We need to map it from the different systems into a common standardized model, right? Yeah, and that requires both thinking of the business process from the business side, but also thinking from the technology process on the data model and how that data will be utilized later, right? So it's quite interesting that, like you said, the normal approach years ago would be, let's create one single ERP system. And we know that that's a project that is years long and with a high risk, right? And at the speed that the industry is moving and your growth, you need to move faster. So the integration solution is a much better way to go about it. And you also, there was a big focus around configuring the lead to sales cycle. Can you tell us a little bit what were the use cases that made this quite difficult?
Well, you are starting to work with different commercial teams that they were used to working at different ways, the different processes of pricing, for example, or to quoting, providing the quote to the customer. There were some teams that they were able to provide a quote in maybe 15 hours. Other teams, they were able to provide the quote in 3 days. Both are outside the expectation of the customers nowadays, which actually they are used to get anything in few hours. I mean, more than 2 hours right now, it's not acceptable. So it's not only about consolidating and standardizing the response to the customer between the different commercial teams, but also the process to do this and to look really sharp on time as one group, so the customer experience is super consistent. It cannot be that in some cases we're responding with a quote in few hours, and in other cases we take like 5 hours. I'm sorry, 5 days. So in that sense, it was challenging to put everything in place and make sure that we have this consistent response to the customer.
So consistency is a big element, but if I remember, and speed, consistency, speed, if I remember correctly, when you go to quote a customer, you can sell a product from any of the nearby factories, right? So the product could come from, if you're a customer in Belgium, you can buy it from Italy, from Spain. So how you configure the quote will give the salesperson a recommended sales price, and then you have business rules that allow for discounts or creating a quote that is more suitable for the customer, right?
It's a movement. It's how you actually change the business model of a company. And this is something very common in the past. The commercial team was too tight working with the local operations. There was not this thinking of working as a group and leveraging the qualities and expertise of the whole group, regardless geographically where the manufacturing places are. By changing the model, so the commercial team really focus on what the customer needs, and then whatever product is manufactured, whatever is needed, it doesn't matter. But at least the commercial team needs to have some point of reference where it's able to find information about the product and to offer it to the customer. In the end, you are trying to build a wall because it's not really needed to the customer, to the commercial team to know where the product is coming from. They just need to focus on how to provide value to the customer. So in that sense, you cannot do it without a centralized platform.
So it's a lot of how you design the platform is based on customer centricity, really understanding the needs of the customer, right? So
absolutely.
there was also an element of automatizing a lot of the processes. When X, Y, Z, then act this in this way, in this form. We find that this is in a lot of customers, this is having a huge impact, because things like before, where you had to, let's say, request a permission for an additional discount, or allocate, you know, a discount based on volume of sales. The components of automations that we're introducing in projects are having quite a big impact in that sense. There also, you know, what do you get from being able to manage the full sales cycle in one single platform? What is the benefit to the business?
Yes, efficiency, and you can get it by improving a lot the communication and automating. So first of all, once you know where you want to be in the response to the customer, let's say that you say, okay, I want to commit to give a 2 hours. In 2 hours, I want to commit to our customers that in 2 hours they will get a quote. Then from that point, you build the process behind in the CRM. In our case, it actually allows this to happen. And for this to happen, as we were saying, there is a lot of automation to help you in this communication, like for example, in the approvals of discounts. Without an automated platform, this may happen via emails or via calls. People are busy, they're traveling. There is also no records of approvals that you can actually go back and check what happened. There is a lot of inefficiency. So in order to go back to my first point, that is, I want to provide a quote in 2 hours, you need to have this tool to be able to achieve by drawing a correct process. And in the end, is this what we were looking for?
Yeah, excellent. And what has been the response of the employees in terms of their experience moving from, you know, they always working to today?
Well, imagine a sales rep a few months ago or year, I mean, it has been really recently, a few months ago, that they had to work with different spreadsheets. They never knew if it was the most up-to-date spreadsheet with the most up-to-date information. And again, they were not only working with one, but they had to work with several ones. They had to always review if it was correct, talking internally with different people. So give them something that they will not have to deal anymore with this problem of different spreadsheets, knowing whether the information is the most up-to-date or not, to be able to go to a platform where we assure them that the information in there is the most up-to-date information about the customer, having the 360 view of the customer, having the latest information about our products, in the same place, to be able to communicate internally while they are traveling, using their phones. It has been a huge transformation on the way of working. In the end, we are giving them more time to speak with customers, to be in the face with the customers, than rather having to organize themselves, printing papers, being in their home offices, preparing a meeting, which could lead to, I mean, they could take hours to prepare one meeting. And nowadays, having everything in the CRM, they can actually do it in a few minutes, and those hours actually spend with the customer.
Yeah, we find that a really interesting thing that happens in businesses. They hire very skilled people for sales, because apart from having a technical understanding of the products, and we usually demand that they have a college degree, that they have a number of years of experience in the business and the industry. They're computer literate, but they also need to have a lot of skills that are, you know, soft skills, emotional intelligence. So we expect all these amazing people, and we go through a lot of money and effort to find them and hire them, but then we give them spreadsheets to work with, and they have to be copy pasting, and then we waste all of this talent in that inefficiency, right? So the whole digital transformation process is about giving people the right tools to potentialize their function. No one wants to do a better job. No one wants to be lousy at their work. People want to, especially salespeople, they want to go out and sell and crunch the numbers and bring the wins home. But they often are doing very heavy administrative work that eats up the time, right? So this is where a CRM solution that is versatile enough to adapt to the business process and can surface the data can definitely help the business process, right?
Yeah.
So
it's super important, Hideki, that and this is something that we saw, that it's getting the commercial people to be involved in the project, so they feel that when we are building it together, and they see the value, and we'll get in. So when they start using it, they know perfectly why things have been designed this way and how they can actually use it. So
yeah, this takes me to the next point. So what are the overall learnings from this experience? What if you had to recommend to other companies looking into implementing CRM, what are the things that you suggest?
First of all, the customer journey, the definition to the higher detail of the customer journey, identifying all the touch points and how to become more efficient. That's the first mapping that you need to do, and where you want to get. Do also a gap analysis of where you are today and what it will take to take you where you want to be. Also measuring the value that you are giving to the customer, align with the sales cycle and your business processes. Then get the full commitment of the whole organization. For sure, the involvement of the commercial team implementing the CRM. If they are not involved at all and they just get it as a surprise on a Monday morning and they tell you, okay, from now on, tomorrow you need to use this platform and this is how it's going to be, you haven't seen it ever before again, or you haven't ever discussed with them how it's going to change their daily work, is going to be a very steep hill. But if you put them in the project right in the beginning, everything goes much more smoothly, and it's something that we have seen. In every new CRM, I always involve them even sooner. This gives you a great value. And then to have a project team, because one thing is to have the support of the executive team of the company, and also to involve the commercial team. But in the implementation of the CRM, there are many elements that you need people from different departments in the organization. You have to have this commitment, time commitment, that they will give it to you to implement the CRM. So without that key people that can give you the decisions on time and the resources that you need to build the whole holistic and 360 view of the customer, it's going to be very difficult to implement the project of the CRM. Never really forget that it's only marketing and the commercial team. There's many other departments that have a play into this. And then there is the part of knowing what you know, but also knowing that you might not know many other things. And this is why it's so important to choose a right partner to guide you during this process. I've had experiences before where I had a technology partner that they were doing exactly what I was asking, but never really helping me or challenging me to tell me that there are nowadays better ways to do things. Yeah. This is something that we are really happy that redk is one of those partners that really give you that extra edge of telling you what else is out there that you can do things better.
Yeah. Well, I think our way of working is very focused on actually creating team dynamics. So we believe that the project success is not about the technology that we use. Right. It's about the people who work on building these teams. There's a strong human element of, we're going to be working on a project for months. there are things that we don't know that we need to discover together. There is a lot of expertise that you bring from your industry and your day-to-day work. There's a lot of expertise that we bring from having done this several times in the technology. Combining this together is what helps us deliver the projects. So great projects can be achieved by the right team of people, right? And when we find that we match with a customer that understands the dynamics and they really see us as a partner, we can deliver very complex projects. I think we're up for time. I'm looking at the question board. There's no questions. Just for people who are on the session and want to know a little bit more about redk, we are a CRM consulting firm focusing on the redesigning of CRM strategy. We work in 4 different areas: business, marketing, automation, sales, customer service, and the engineering part of the business, the technology. Just so if you have any questions, reach out to us. Fernando, thank you very much for taking the time to prepare and deliver this. I think it's been very useful. Hopefully for the people who attended, it's been practical and useful as well. And thank you for sharing the insights and the knowledge.
Thank you, Hideki.
All right, everybody, thank you and have a good afternoon. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.